would it be this time? I can fix that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Notier's Frontiers Diaries. In the last episode, we went into Idaho to explore the incredible state that it is. And in this episode, we see one of Idaho's most famous and beautiful features, the Sawtooth Mountains. Ooh. And we also have a bit of a disaster that happens as we go through.
A common theme you might be catching on to.
I think that's like just a part of travel though. I mean, it's always ups and downs, right? You always have good things and bad things that happen to you, and it's always out of your control, and you just have to go with it, whatever it may be.
Stay positive. Indeed.
That's right. So we started off in the morning at this campsite that was one of my favorites. It was in Chalice Hot Springs. I don't think so.
Get in there.
This is nice. That's where we had our spa day. Because they had hot springs there, and it was amazing. I just loved, first of all, I love hot springs, but the fact that they were so clear, they were just the perfect temperature. It was nice and chilly out, and so it was that perfect contrast between the hot water and the chilly outside. And so we slept really well.
Yes.
We had a gorgeous view of the mountains.
And that night we ran into, there was like, 9 motorcyclists that are on like, more dirt bikes or, single track orientated. So I don't think there was a 650 among them. They were all 250s, 300s. But a good conversation is really cool. Most of them were level-headed. There was a few weird ones. Sorry if you're watching this. There was like, they had a shaman.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. But I just thought that was really great. Like, this group of people had come together, and they did it every year, apparently.
Yeah, so it's like it's like just a group of friends that get together regardless of where their lives are at, and they go
to different places out west, and they certainly picked some good places to go to this time through Idaho.
Sure. And so they were telling us some cool, harder stuff. We told them about the Colorado BDR and how there were some difficult sections, but they would just zoom through happily. It's always just fun to talk with like-minded people. There were beers involved. Marissa doesn't drink, and so when strangers have beers, I just seem to magnetate to them.
You're magnetized. No, you're
attracted to them magnetically.
Yes.
So I had an extra good night because I had a couple beers, few more than I should have had.
After a wonderful swim in the hot springs. So, I mean, it's perfect. And they had a campfire. That's the best.
And just good conversation.
Absolutely. And so we woke up the next morning and it was beautiful. Those plumes of mist kind of coming off of the hot springs because it was so cold and crisp out. It just filled the view of the mountains with those wafts of, it looked like smoke. It was really, really beautiful. And we packed up the motorcycle. It started to get a little bit warmer once the sun was more or less coming over the mountains.
And we honked to our neighbors as we took off and waved goodbye.
And headed on down the road. to go through Sawtooth Mountains, there's a beautiful road that we'd been told about that is paved. But we'd also heard that there is something called Bay Horse, which has an old mining town and a little bit of off-road.
I don't even think we heard of it. I think we were just riding down and I saw an offshoot.
Right.
And I was like, hey, you want to go check out a mining town? When was the last time we were disappointed by an old mining town? So we said, yeah. So I turned off it and we just...
Yeah, you're right. It was just very serendipitous.
It was a random road. And it was, fairly easy, especially after some of the stuff we had been doing. But there's, loose gravel and ruts, and it's not
really
maintained very much. Oh, it was fantastic.
Perfect dirt road.
Sadly, when we got to the main mine thing, it was closed.
Yeah.
There's a big gate that was closed, but you can appreciate it from afar. And there was a car. There was a dude in the car waiting there, and I didn't know if he was a security guard or what. But the road kept going, and I asked him, I said, hey, are they open? He said, no, they're closed. And he was just waiting. He said, are you going to go down that road? And I said, yeah. And he said, because I heard it gets really, really gnarly, and I don't want to go down it by myself.
Yeah.
I said, you can follow us. I'm not going to be able to help you whatsoever if things go astray.
Right.
But
He's just in a car, and we're on a motorcycle.
A rental car, because he's in the area for business. And
right, he said that his brother had recommended that he go down this road because there was a lake, Bay Horse Lake, down at the end of the road.
That's
that was
when we
supposed
heard
to be
of Bay
beautiful.
Horse. Yeah.
That's
'Cause
right.
we had no idea about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, we said, sure, follow us along. And we took on down the road. And it got a little bit, it did get quite
Narrow.
more narrow.
I could see how if you were in a vehicle that you felt couldn't handle the road, there wouldn't have been a good place to turn around.
No.
So that would have been tricky for him, but it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad. The problem is that going off-road on a motorcycle and going off-road, even in a 4x4, a Jeep, when you see Jeeps doing nasty off-road stuff, they're kerplunking and they're at crazy angles and they're doing all this, but they're going 2-3 miles an hour to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And me, I'm zipping along. I'm doing 10, 12, 15. I'm not. If you're on a 250 dirt bike, you're doing a wheelie, the whole time.
Yeah,
but
we're definitely not that fast though.
No, but I kept looking in my rearview mirror for this guy in this RAV4 or whatever it was.
Right, but he was way off in the distance. And actually, on a motorcycle, the truth is you can't go that slow.
Especially uphill,
Right,
when
you'll
this
fall
was doing.
over. You can only go so slow on these off-road areas. It really depends on the terrain, but at certain terrain, you have to keep your speed.
I was trying to be a good Samaritan, but at some point I just said, I don't know where he is, and I'm not waiting around for...
We're like, let's check out this Bay Horse Lake.
Yeah. And then the road splits off. And again, we didn't know where he was. And the guy just pointed down the road and said, there's a lake at the end of the road. And then there's a split. And we're like, I don't know which way to go. But to the right was certain doom. It was just this zigzaggy.
Yeah.
And there were mines on the side of the cliff. And it looked really cool. And I was gung-ho. I would have done it if Marissa was on board, but I was equally excited when she's like, let's go left. And I was like, left.
There's no way. Because
there's not a lake up there, I'll tell you that much. Maybe there's a crater lake, but...
No, I mean, we could see these old mining buildings, and one of them was built so directly onto the cliff. I have no idea how those settlers built that place.
Chuck the ore down the mountainside.
It was nuts how steep that was, and you could see this tiny road going to it, and I was like, no, that is a mule track. There is no way that they got anything up there that wasn't on 2 feet or 4 feet.
No.
No wheels managed to get up there. So I'm glad we didn't go that way. And that we took left instead.
With that. So we went left, and the road, and it was beautiful. The trees were nice and colorful.
There were campgrounds, or you could see people had camped out in these fields. But we finally got to the lake, and it was really beautiful.
There was this little pier that went off into, it was there's this beautiful, empty lake. There's nothing around. Yeah. And then there's the pier that kind of goes off into it, and so...
Yeah, it's kind of like your picturesque little mountain lake. It's just you and the lake, and maybe some ducks, and maybe a loon if you're lucky. And Yeah, really, really picturesque. But my favorite part was on the way back. Because as we were coming back, this was still very early morning and the sun was rising and there were some clouds in the sky. And the clouds made it so that the sun's rays came down in what we call God rays.
God figures.
God rays, like just streaming down.
Massaging the earth with
that one valley was blessed or something.
Yes.
It was so beautiful. And then the sunlight would kind of filter through the clouds, and we were at high enough altitude and it was fall so that some of the trees had turned a beautiful golden color.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of going through this tunnel of golden leaves with the sun rays shining through and mountains in the distance. It was beautiful.
It was good. And we saw our little four-wheeled friend and he said, yeah. I turned around. Good on you. Sure.
Yep, he saw the first place he could turn around.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I'm going back.
Yeah, it was a rental car. So not doing that.
Pretty wise, but we got a good adventure out of it.
Indeed. And then the little mining camp, we saw like the same 9 bikes from the campground. And they were all there. And they're we're taking pictures and we were Tim. And I'm like, who in 1,000 miles knows my name? And I was like, hey! And so that was cool, a little reunion, meet and greet, and then we bailed. And
we headed off to Sawtooth.
Yeah.
Had texted you. He saw that we were kind of in this area that he had visited.
Yeah, we have the
before.
GPS Garmin InReach, and it gives our family and immediate friends like exact locations of where we are.
Yeah.
And my brother saw that we were in an area that he had just ridden to the year prior, and he said, "Oh my God, you got to go to Lake."
Well, driven to.
Driven to.
Ridden
yes.
to, but yes.
Yeah, he's in a four wheels. But what was the lake name?
Stanley. Lake Stanley.
Yeah. And he said, you got to go to Lake Stanley. And I said, I don't know if it's too far out of our way, then probably not. But then I looked at the map and it was like, oh my God, that's where we're going.
Yeah, it's kind of in the heart of the Sawtooth Mountains. And so we put that into the GPS, headed there, and the picture that your brother had taken was gorgeous because
it was
he
like
had
placid.
There.
He got up in the bright morning. The lake was just a mirror.
Yeah.
But we found the same. I must have been standing on the same stone that he took his picture from.
It was so
we'll
cool.
do a side by side here, but and then I sent it to him. And it was just so cool. I love my brother to death. He had some good advice. He had a good time. I had a good time at the same exact spot. The world, we both met at different timelines at that second, so that was cool.
Really, really cool. And the mountains around it, I can see why they're called the Sawtooth Mountains because they are so jagged. They really do look like shark teeth or something, just sticking up out of the earth and kind of cradling this lake. It was beautiful.
And so we had a good lunch stop. I had a Reuben, I remember quite fondly.
Oh yeah, we found some sandwiches. And, that was perfect. I mean, you just have a good riding day, you pack some delicious sandwiches, and the weather's nice. Pull over, have a nice view. We ate our sandwiches right there with the view of the lake and the mountains behind it. And yeah, it was pretty perfect. And I was thinking, could it get any better? You know, there's really only one way for things to go when it's that perfect.
Yeah. And ironically, we had reached like the apex of the mountain pass, so we were going down.
We did enjoy ourselves for a little bit longer. We had, again, perfect weather. We were stopping at every little pull-off and campground that there was to take pictures. There was a beautiful river that the road followed.
So the asphalt road, the main road, follows this river, as most roads and mountains do. And so there's, you know, a bunch of little pull-offs. Let them be their campgrounds or picnic areas or whatever. But, you know, I'd see all this beauty, this river through all the trees, and then there'd be an opening, and I would be like, I'd turn around and pull in, like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And then we get, you know, 2 miles down the road, and I'd see another one, like, oh my God, that's beautiful. And so,
and we had nothing but time. You know, we were going through Idaho to visit our friend Brandon in Boise. So we were going to make it to Boise that day. But we had plenty of time. You know, we were just enjoying ourselves at every little pull-off. And then at one of these pull-offs, we were taking lots of pictures. The pictures were great.
They're so beautiful. I took a couple blue steel shots just for fun. But
we were having a great time, and then we went to get back on the motorcycle, and it didn't start.
And this has at this point been kind of a reoccurring thing that has made me nervous, because I haven't, you know, it happened first in Florida.
That's right. And then again on our way, when we were going over the Mississippi, it just died on our way to Colorado. We were towed by our friend Pete back to Colorado.
But we thought we had resolved the problem.
Yeah,
There's the regulator rectifier, and it's called the RR. It's where the battery is terminated with the starter and the charger and the stator to so that the stator is always continuously charging the battery, but it's not going to just overcharge it. And so the stator regulates how much voltage the battery is kept at. And in a perfect running vehicle, it's always 13.5, 14, 15, whatever it may be on your particular vehicle. Boring stuff out of the way that I don't even really know what I'm talking about, but it sounds good.
But pretty good.
I unscrewed the stator and the regulator, and like liquid black death had come out of it, and it was like a mixture of Namibian sand and Peruvian mud and Florida monsoon. And I knew that was not good. I know that during electrical terminations, more water, more problems. And so when I had that dumped out and fixed and taped back up, everything started, and it felt good, because when you're solving problems and you don't do anything and then things work, it's like, I don't know, I didn't really fix anything, and so I don't really feel confident that this isn't going to happen again. But those were one of those times when Marissa asked me, I was like, I'm like 90% sure that we fixed it. And so
every day his confidence would go up too.
Yeah,
we'd already been going through a bunch of off-road in Colorado, and we'd gotten all the way up to Idaho, and so everything was functioning fine. We figured, found a problem, fixed the problem, we're good, right?
Yes. And then, surprise. You know, and it's just so disappointing because it's just like, what could, you know, when I don't know much about bikes to begin with, and I'm a strong advocate of, I don't think that you have to be a professional KTM or Ducati or BMW mechanic to be able to go ride your bike. I mean, you know, how
around
many
the
of us?
world even, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure, you know, but I don't know a lot about the mechanics, and I know even less about the electronics. And if it's mechanical, like, I don't know how to mend, like, to heal a broken bone in a leg or something, but if something snapped, I would know to, like, put a stick on it and wrap it, and, you know, like, and rah. And same with, like, the motorcycle. I know how to use JB Weld and Gorilla Tape and zip ties. But when it comes to the electronics, or, like, the neurological system, is that a system?
I
Nailed
think
it.
So.
Like, you know, I would have no idea what to do. And same with the bike. It's just, if you gave me a fluke meter, I would just press a bunch of things and the thing would go beep, beep, and I'd just be like, I don't have any idea what's going on here.
Yeah.
So long and short, at that very moment in time, my energy and my happiness went.
That's right. And you know, you're not giving yourself enough credit, because you do know a few things, and you know to disconnect the battery and reconnect it and kind of reboot the whole electrical system. You tried doing the
kickstand sensor. There's the throttle body trick, you know, because I had Googled some, like, tricks.
You know
so
some things. And
I know
actually,
how to Google things.
It did get working again.
Yeah, let's do that.
But at this point, we were so upset that this reoccurring problem had
back.
Yeah, had surfaced again. So that definitely dampened our spirits, and we didn't know if we would be able to make it to Boise or not.
And I didn't want to call anybody for another tow, you know, and it was just poopy. And so they're sitting there trying to do all the different things that I could finally do. It started.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's not mess around. Let's not, you know, like, let's not turn the bike off unless we need gas. And if we're at a gas station and need help, that would surely be a better place to be stuck than at a campground.
Yeah.
In the middle of some mountain
middle of
pass.
The mountains, right? So that will all be in our next episode of What Happens Next.
Cliffhanger.
I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below. Ding, ding. And we will be seeing you next time.
Peace, everybody.
Bye.
Stay safe.